Welcome crafters. I've got a quick little project here, a little how-to on how to make a crystal chain link or a crystal beaded chain, or sometimes called rosary chain, because basically it's a component where you have a loop, a bead or crystal, and a loop, and then it's connected to the next loop with a bead or crystal and a loop, and then you can make a long chain. Now this can be used as just strictly the chain, or you might use the individual components to be connectors for different types of larger beads or smaller beads. Any kind of component you want to make, you might use them in an earring to give it a little more dangle and drop. So there's just so many things that you can use this for. So I'm just going to show you how to make them and make them quickly. So I've got an array of tools here. However, the big gun in this project is this one-step looper. It makes creating these so easy with such a tiny amount of waste on the wire, you won't even believe it. So we'll get this thing unboxed, but the one I'm using is the 1.5 millimeter, so it's the regular one-step looper. They also have the big one-step looper, so that makes a 3 millimeter round, and I'll show you what that looks like. Well, you could see it in that little bit of chain, but you'll see it in action. And let me just get this out of the box here. So we're going to use that. Now I have a couple of other tools out that just, you know, they'll come in handy as well. But this one-step looper replaces several tools when it comes to making those loops. So I do have a wire straightener just in case we get some bends in the wire. It's just something that's nice to have on hand. I do have a cutter, so it's a flush cutter, but I'll cut a piece of that wire there. And then I have a needle nose plier, and that's just what I've been using to link these up. So let's just cut our nice little piece of wire. And this is just a nickel-free, inexpensive wire. It's 20 gauge. I do recommend that you use a 20, maybe a 22 gauge is as small as I might go, and maybe an 18, you know, with the larger looper you could go with a little heavier wire. But what you don't want for your components is you don't want that necklace to just pull apart. You want those loops to stay, and if you use a wire that's too fine, the wire will just, it's too soft, it will just spread apart. So we don't want that. So now that I've got my wire piece, and it's relatively straight, it does not have to be perfect. So I don't need to use my wire straightener right now. We'll set that aside. And I'm done with my flush cutter. So all I have now is my needle nose plier and my looper. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see the action on this tool. Okay, so I have my 20 gauge wire piece that I've cut, and then if I run out of this one, I just cut some more. I have 4 millimeter crystals, and I have my looper. So what I'm going to do is, when you put your wire into this tool, you can slide it in through the side, or you can just place it in, really. And the first loop that I'm making, I want to cut almost nothing off that wire. So I'm bringing it in from the left, feeding it in, and just bringing it past this round piece right here. And as I clamp that, you'll see why. So I'm going to just close that around. Now a little tiny piece may get cut off the end, so I do like to protect that. I want you to be able to see what's happening though, so I'm not going to cover it this time, but when I'm working on this, I just put my hand over it and cover it while I cut. So we'll go ahead and loop that up. And look at that, it just made the loop. Now my wire, if you can see that, is the loop is actually set off to the side over here. And I want to center that up. So I'm just going to take that wire and give it just a little bend. And that brings it out this way. So now my loop is centered. And now I can take it off of here. And look at how perfect that loop is. So this is the fun part. I'm going to feed one of these beads down on here, bring it all the way to the end of my wire, and this is what I think is just so cool. I'm going to bring my wire back through here, but watch this. They are so smart, they put a hole right there. So that wire now can feed with my bead on it all the way up to where I need it. Now, you have some options here. My bead is going to sit right against this little piece of the tool. And I have the loop here, and I like to have like an S look on my loops. So I want to turn that and have my loop here facing the opening on the down side, because when I loop it here, it's going to go up. And make sure that your bead isn't inside the looper. So just right at that edge, and then you just go ahead and close it. It's going to cut that wire and make that loop, and then I'm just going to give it a slight bend, and look at that. Is that the most beautiful little component you ever did see? Now, once you're ready to put your chain together, you just have your needle nose pliers seems to work best for me. And what I found is, because it's a chain link component, I had a real hard time trying to just twist it out to open it. It's easy to bend it. So I found that this isn't what I would normally do, but in this instance, I did decide that just taking my needle nose pliers and giving it just a slight opening by expanding, which isn't how you normally open links. But that was just working because it's so small, delicate work. And then I could put this through, and then I took my needle nose pliers and I very gently, just take your time and don't try to over press, because that's when they go sideways and cross over on you and it gets real funky real fast. But that was working best in this instance. So it's not how I normally open loops or jump rings, but I found that because they were small components and a little harder to hold, this just happened to work best in this case. So that's how I'm linking these. There you have it. It's so easy to do this, and you can use beads, you can use wire, any color wire, any kind of component. Imagine the possibilities. But this tool, I'm telling you, makes it so fast and easy. And look at, I don't think I wasted even a drop of that wire. Maybe, yeah, there's just that little tiny nib. And then I can just keep going and using that wire over and over until I just feed it all in there and make my components. So I will have links to these products down below, because this is just the best thing going. I love it. So have a great day. Happy crafting.